Hello and welcome to the Stronghold Digital Mining Daily Update. Today's Wednesday, January 24th, 2024. I am extremely excited for you to listen to a podcast. It's the Watts and Blocks podcast, and it stars none other than Stronghold Digital Mining's Greg Beard. This is a phenomenal podcast. I am linking to it in the description of today's broadcast. I'm going to really keep this super short because I really want the entire Stronghold Digital Mining community to support the Watts and Blocks podcast and check out this interview with Mr. Greg Beard. Phenomenal interview. Now, I'm going to play you a little trailer of sorts. It's a 10-second or so trailer that I put together myself that basically shares a couple of words that Greg shared in this interview that, from my perspective, are probably some of the most intriguing words to be shared on any recent podcast. So you really got to check out the entire Watts and Blocks podcast because the whole thing is phenomenal. And I hope this gives you a little bit of a taste of what the conversation was like. Okay, let's go ahead and roll this audio, please.
We're around 4 exahash, which is subscale for a public company. So I think, hey, we'll either, I would predict, hey, we're either merging with others or buying others or be bought ourselves.
Okay, so listen, from my perspective, it sounds like Stronghold Digital Mining is getting ready to be in play, if it's not already in play already. This is a really big deal, okay? Because this idea of either merging with someone else, buying someone else, or being bought ourselves, of those three options, I really think that, and this is, this is me making a prediction on top of what Greg is predicting. I'm predicting that Greg's preference, the preference of the board, the preference of everybody, be that this phenomenal asset that Stronghold Digital Mining has become ultimately end up being part of a larger organization. And so from my perspective, I think being bought ourselves is probably, or being merged or bought, is probably the angle and result that we, as in, Stronghold Digital Mining, is probably more than likely leaning towards. I just intuitively sense that we want to merge with someone else or be bought by someone else. That's my sense. And, to hear that, that's not just me saying it, that's hearing Greg say that. Now, listen, to be clear, I mean, Greg, isn't saying, hey, we've retained, some investment banking advisors to explore strategic alternatives. I mean, we're not maybe at that point yet, but certainly to me, it seems like Stronghold Digital Mining is in play and is likely to become more and more in play. And bearing in mind, too, you got to listen to the whole podcast. Again, it's linked in the description of this broadcast. Bearing in mind that, if we've got this carbon capture business at a point, right, where it seems pretty obvious that we're going to pull this out, which I think we're going to literally have the lowest costs of power of practically any publicly traded Bitcoin mining company when you do the math on this. So that's an incredibly attractive value proposition, not to mention the fact that we've already got 4 exahash in place, which, as Greg described, hey, it's maybe subscale. That's a phrase that I have not heard Greg mention before, but I think it's a fair description of where we're at. Relative to the other publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies, yeah, we're maybe subscale, so to speak, right? We're a bit smaller than a lot of those other guys who are just growing by leaps and bounds. We're going to end this broadcast here. We're going to stay positive. We're going to be great. We're going to check out the the Watts and Blocks podcast in the description to today's broadcast. Please check it out, and we'll see each other again tomorrow.